Hello, and welcome to week 11 of Ari on TV. I'm Miss Jess, and this week's show is called Rekindle Hope by Watching for the Light. As Unitarian Universalists, our faith asks us to be aware of the miracle of the web of life. It's part of our sixth UU source, spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. In the stillness of the winter solstice, we celebrate the returning of nature's light that brings hope. So, what's one of the ways our faith guides us into becoming a people of stillness? It tells us to rekindle hope by being still and keeping watch for the light. So, welcome into this quiet place of beauty. We come from busy things, pausing for a moment for the thoughts that quiet brings.
We light this chalice for the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action.
Winter solstice is a time when the night is the longest and the day is the shortest. But after the solstice, more and more light returns each day. The returning of the light rekindles our sense of hope. What I want you to do is imagine a time before electric lights, when the flickering of candles lent an air of mystery and beauty to the night, when homes were warmed by the glow of a fire, when there was nothing much to do in the long winter's night but rest. In our busy world where we can have light and heat anytime we want, when we can get strawberries and lettuce in the middle of the winter and hamburgers through the drive-thru, we often lose track of the changes taking place around us in nature. Those rhythms that are so important to our planet's well-being. Our guest this week is Miss Theresa, and she's here to share a story of solstice with us and tell us more about how she celebrates this wonderful time of the year.
Okay. Hi, everyone. This is Theresa McReynolds. Some of you remember me. And I'm kind of hoping that some of you remember when I came to your class, when we were still doing classes at the UU, and we talked about all of the 4 different directions. And this, with the sun rising and the solstice, the winter solstice, is the direction of the east. And if you remember, some of you, we talked about how beginnings start in the east because every day the sun rises. And the tools were the sword. Do you remember? We made swords to celebrate the east. And all of the animals that celebrate the east are things with wings that fly, like the birds. I think we made little birds and berries and butterflies and any insect that has wings, and the bumblebees, because the element of the east is air. So anything that flies through the air is representative of the east. So winter solstice is coming up this Monday, December 21st, and winter solstice is a really powerful holiday. In the pagan tradition, we talk about the wheel turning because it constantly, we go from all of the seasons and everything is in a circle. So we turn the wheel at the solstice time to celebrate winter solstice, the return of the sun. S-U-N, sun. The Christians celebrate the return of the sun, S-O-N. We celebrate the return of the sun, S-U-N, because we have been in the season of darkness, and now we are coming out into the season of light. It will start on the 21st. I'm going to read to you a little story from a friend of mine, Starhawk's book, Circle Round, where she talks about the sun coming back and tells some really neat stories about that. So if you all come and circle around and get close to the screen, I'll tell you the story about how the sun was born again. It was the middle of winter, and the sun had grown very, very old. All year long, the sun had worked very hard, rising and setting and rising and setting day after day. It would come up in the morning and go down in the evening. All year long, the sun had fed everybody on earth, shining and shining, giving energy to the trees and the flowers and the grasses so they could grow and feed the animals and the birds and the insects and the people. Think about that. How does the sun feed you? Do you have any ideas about that? How the sun would feed you? Wow. All year long, the sun's gravity held tight to the spinning ball of the earth and twirling the ball of the moon and the 8 other whirling planets as they traveled around and around and around until the poor sun was so dizzy watching it all, watching everything spin all around it. Now, the poor tired sun could barely make it up in the morning. He was having such a hard time getting up in the morning, and after a very short time, it needed to sleep again. So the days grew shorter, and the nights grew longer, until the day was so short, it was hardly worth getting up for. Can you imagine that? Hardly having any sun? The dark night, felt very sorry for the sun. Come into my arms and rest, child, she said to the sun. After all, I am your mother. You were born out of my darkness billions of years ago, and you will return to me when all things end. Let me cradle you now as I shelter every galaxy and star in the universe. So night, she wrapped her arms all around the sun and held it really tight. And the night was very long indeed, because the darkness was all wrapped around the sun, the mother darkness. And the children said, why does the dark go on so long? Won't the sun ever come back again? And the parents said, the sun is very old and very tired right now. But maybe if you children say thank you for all the things that the sun does for us, the light might return in the morning. So the children sang songs, and they thought about all the things that the sun gave them. Can you think of some things that the sun gives you? Do you have any ideas? What does the sun give you? And the children said, well, thank you, sun, for growing the lettuce and the corn and the rice and the wheat. Thank you for growing the trees of the forests and the seaweed in the oceans and the krill that feeds the whales. Thank you for growing the flowers and the vegetables and all the plants in my garden that feed me and give me wonderful food and nourishment. Thank you for watermelons. Thank you for stirring the air and making the winds bring the rain. So every time that a child said thank you, the sun began to feel a little warmer and a little brighter. And wrapped safely in the arms of night, the sun grew younger and younger and younger. At last, the children had to go to bed. We will stay up and wait for the sun to rise, the parents said. Can we stay up too? The children asked. You can try, but I bet you will get sleepy. But I have an idea. How about if each one of you lights a candle? Because all fire is a spark of the sun's fire. Put your candle in a very, very safe place and let it keep a vigil for you as you dream and you sleep and you dream of the sunrise. So the children all lit candles and put them in very safe places. And each flame was a little spark of the sun's fire. And the sun peeped out from between the arms of night and saw all the little fires and began to feel warmer and brighter and younger and younger. Early in the morning, the old ones woke the children. Together, they climbed a high hill and faced to the east, the direction of the sunrise. They sang songs to the sun and ran around trying to keep warm. They waited and waited to see what dawn would bring. And guess what? Guess what? The sky began to turn from black to indigo to blue. Slowly, the sky grew light. A golden glow crept over the horizon, and night opened her arms really, really wide. And in a burst of brightness, the sun appeared new and strong and shining. For in the long night, the sun had rested well and grown young from the songs and the thanks of the children. Young as a brand new baby, born out of night once again. Everyone cheered and the children jumped up and down. The end. So when you think about that, solstice means sun standing still. So what that means is the sun is traveling through the sky, and it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller and weaker and more tired. And then all of a sudden it stands still. This story had to go right into the darkness's arms. The mother held it, didn't she? Until it got strong and big. And when it stands still in that moment, and then all of a sudden it starts to come out and come back and come bigger. And every day now from the Monday, the 21st, it's going to start getting bigger and bigger and bigger and brighter, and our days will get longer and longer. And it feels kind of strange because you think, well, it's winter time and it's dark out. But just think, watch every day. You're going to see a little bit every day as the sun grows bigger and bigger and bigger. And pretty soon it'll be summer again and we'll be warm again. I always celebrate we call them the high holidays, equinoxes and the solstices. I think it's so important to tell the mother thank you for what she does for us. And at winter solstice, this is one of the high holidays. Usually, someday, maybe some of you can come visit my yard. I have a whole section in the back devoted to all the altars. So usually this time of year, I go outside and there's a ritual and I invite people to come over. I won't be doing that now this time because of COVID, but I invite people to come over and we decorate the east altar and get her all ready for the winter solstice. And then on the winter solstice, I usually go out there at nighttime with a candle and light it and do a whole ritual. I have an altar that I have out there. And on the altar, I usually put some holly berry, and usually I'll light a fire and usually start with it really dark and no light at all. And we'll stand out there in the darkness and we stand still because we are the sun standing still. And we think about everything the sun has given us. We talk about our gratitudes and how grateful we are for this earth and the sun. And as we talk, we all gather and we start to chant, and we make little chants. And we say, to die and be reborn, the wheel is turning. To die and be reborn, the wheel is turning. And we turn around and we chant this. And then after a little bit of time, we start to light the fire that represents the sun coming back. I'm imagining, well, I know that this year I'll be doing it a little bit different because I'll be here by myself celebrating. So I know that I'll go out and visit, even if it's cold and rainy and snowy. I still do it because I love being on the Mother Earth no matter what's going on with her. And I know that I'll probably light a little fire out there by myself and bring some things out to put around my east altar. Usually I have little statues of birds, and I have little statues of butterflies, and have a couple fairies that I put out there. And because the east represents air, I always burn some incense because incense kind of goes through the air and it represents air. So I have these little hands out there that are like a cup, and I put incense in the middle, and I will do that this year. And it's really, to me, it's very, very important to celebrate the high holidays and to celebrate the earth, no matter what's happening, because even though we people are on her and we are all around and going through our experiences, she's constant. She is always there. She is always there. And the wheel constantly turns, no matter what we're doing, no matter what we're going through, the wheel continues to turn. And this is a turning, and it's important to acknowledge that and just be aware of that. So that's my story. That's what I do for solstice. And I'm hoping that you'll all think of something to do on Monday. Maybe you'll light a candle with your parents, ask them to help you put it in a safe place. And you can sit around that candle and talk about all the wonderful things that the sun brings you. And one of the things you can talk about the sun bringing you is summertime and being outside and swimming and playing. But don't forget the little things like the food and all of that stuff. So do your own little ritual. It will be just such a wonderful, wonderful time to die and be reborn. The sun is born again. Okay, thanks everybody. Have a great church day. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Miss Theresa. Our family celebrates the winter solstice as well. Every December 21st, we make edible ornaments for animals. Things like popcorn strings, apple and orange slices, birdseed cones, and we decorate a snow tree. We choose a tree in our yard that will be that year's snow tree, and then we go out and hang the ornaments on the tree. Over the next few days, we watch birds and squirrels visit the tree, and we marvel each morning at the nighttime visitors we didn't see who snuck some midnight snacks. In our virtual lab this week, there are links to some crafts and activities that your family might enjoy to celebrate the stillness of winter and the hope that comes with the return of the light on winter solstice. Miss Leah is here with our Song of Stillness this month.
Quiet moment, quiet me, quiet in the midst of all I see, a swirling, changing world, but I am still. quiet moment, quiet me, quiet in the midst of all I see, a swirling, changing world, but I am still.
Well, that's it for our show this week. Can you say the words with me for extinguishing the chalice? We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. May you find stillness and comfort in the dark days of winter. May winter solstice bring you hope. Blessed be, my loves.